Hey, good morning. And it's Sunday morning here at the Wild and Scenic Film Festival. I'm your host, Elisa Parker, and we are celebrating 14 years of Wild and Scenic. It's the largest film festival of its kind in the world, and it's been just a joy for me to see so many people come from all over the world. I mean, I'm sure you guys have met people from all over the place. In our own little town here in Nevada City, California. We also have venues in Grass Valley as well this year, and it's just been really extraordinary. If you've had a chance to hear any of the stories from other filmmakers or special guests, then you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, then you should definitely look at our archives at wildandscenicfilmfestival.org. We'll have all of those up for you as well. So I'm excited. You know, we've had a drought here in California, and it's so exciting to have some precipitation, some rain, which means snow in the mountains, which means people are actually getting out, recreating in the snow, which, we forgot kind of what snow even looked like for a while here. So it's totally appropriate that my guest, Elisa Milsom, and her dad, Clark, are joining us today for the film Snow Day, Life, Death, and Skiing. And that's a lot in a title just in itself. Even putting those together, Erica.
Yeah. It's funny, when we were trying to choose our title, I find that titling a film is such a bizarre experience because you're like, well, what are we telling people with that title?
Yeah.
And we really did want to combine the idea that, you know, a snow day is like the best day in your life. It's always so much fun when you're a little kid. And that this is something that the seniors get to do once a week. It is their snow day. It's a day off from anything else that's going on in their life, and it's super fun. But that there's more depth to this film than just like a fun day on the slopes.
Sure. Tell us about your film.
Well, it's an hour-long documentary, and it was inspired by my dad and his ski group that he'd been a part of for 20 years. And it's about skiing for sure, and we really look into like what is fun and joyful about skiing. But then his group is a group of 6 people who have these very deep lives, and so I wanted to make sure that it was also about their lives and about the challenges that they face and how they support each other as they're on the slopes once a week, but also aging together and going through life together.
How many years, Clark, have you guys been skiing together?
Actually, 20 years, actually, group is larger than 6. We feature 6 people in this now, and so basically there are about 12 of us that go up every week on Saturdays. Not Saturdays, Wednesdays. We used to do Saturdays before we retired. Okay, then we moved to Wednesday. Much better time to go skiing.
Definitely, it's not that crowded.
Yeah, and so there have been people that have been in the group and have left because they moved or whatever. And but there are people that have hung in there for that whole time, and some of them are featured in this film and are very dear friends of mine at this point in time. And it was so exciting for me to see this film yesterday because of the connection it made emotionally with a lot of people in the audience. We had quite an extended question and answer time at the end of the film, and people came up and said it touched their hearts. You know, it brought memories back of their dad or their mom and the adventures they had on the slope with them through the time. So it's been really fun.
How have you maintained that connection with everyone and doing something consistently every week? And how has that really enhanced the way that you live your life and having that consistency?
You know, there's a major enhancement in that you know that you're going to get up on Wednesday morning at about 5.
Really? 5 in the morning? You're really tired.
It's about...
I'd be like 10 o'clock. Perfect.
Really tired.
There's no need to anymore, Clark.
Only Wednesdays.
On Wednesday. Well, is it also because now you were in Colorado, now you're in the Bay Area,
yes,
so you're driving up, right? Or,
that's right.
Okay.
If I'm skiing here, I'd be driving
it's a
even
couple of
further.
Hours. Yeah.
It was for us to get to Copper Mountain, you know, because we'd stop for coffee on the way. It would be a 2-hour trip up to the ski area. And so basically it's a pretty involved process. In the back of your mind is, I hope the weather is okay, and I hope that when we come through the tunnel, we don't go there on I-70, that our car doesn't suddenly go off into space because of ice as you come out of the tunnel. Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of things to think about when you're skiing, but people when they're going up, are very conversant. When we are coming home, it's a little more quiet. We've had a pretty full
Well, we're
day.
talking about downhill skiing.
We are downhill skiing. That's right.
Yeah,
So.
and Erica, what has this meant to you to be able to have this experience with your father? And were you skiing as well when you were out capturing some of this footage?
You know, I realized pretty quickly that I can't ski and shoot at the same time.
That would be tough.
So a lot of the film, almost anything that's shot on flat land, it's usually stuff that I shot, but anything on the slopes is shot by two really excellent cinematographers that we worked with, Matt Zinniel and Jason Watkins. I'm like, it's early still.
Great filmers.
What did you learn about your dad that you didn't know before?
Oh, it's so funny. Well, it's interesting because I think I learned a little bit about his friendships that I didn't know before. I think the reason I wanted to do the film initially, I wanted to make like a short film about his funny ski group, because I would call him, we talked when he lived in Colorado, my mom, my dad and I would talk once a week or so, and then he'd tell me about skiing, and it was always like, oh yeah, I fell down, or this guy took a big tumble, or we got a speeding ticket. It was just, or we almost crashed. You know, it's like every time it was like, why are you doing this?
You're like,
you're old. That's what I kept thinking. And I think that actually is the question that I went into the film with. Why are you doing this? You're old. Why are you being unsafe? But then once I started making it, you realize, like, A, you're so much more fit than I am, and that, like, why you're doing this is partially because you love it, and there are still chances to take in life, and they're worth the outcome. And then also, like, the guy who drove, his name is Roland, and he's in the film. He actually, that year that I chose to make the film, he was diagnosed with terminal cancer. So instead of telling this funny story about this crazy driver, we ended up getting to tell this story about a man who's dealing with his own death and trying to process that and remember the things that he values in life. So that was, I'm really glad I asked that question. Why are you doing this? And then got to have this like much deeper film unfold from that than I initially thought it was going to be.
Well, and also especially I would think for men, Clark, that I know even looking at my husband, that guys connect when they're doing something, right? Whether that's a sport, and that's like the time to bond. And we're women, we could sit, have tea, chat, let it all out.
Right.
I'm sure this experience has created some unusual bond and connection with your friends, right? When you do have a chance to check in with each other.
Right.
And I know that's a part of this film. Can you tell me a little bit more about that and some of the stories that have come out of that?
Well, I would like to also say there are a couple of women that are part of our group.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
And these are extraordinary women.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
They're great.
And if people come to see the film, they will be infatuated by these amazing personalities, these surviving people who are basically, both of them were widowed, living alone, loving to ski, but not having someone to ski with. Skiing by yourself isn't the same as skiing with others, and particularly our group. And so basically, we became very, very close. I've known those people for quite a long time now. And so we've seen the circumstances as life unfolds. Sometimes it's very rough and tough, and other times it's just quite inspirational. And so I'm pretty connected to all these people, and we continue to be in touch with each other. And I'm not sure that's an answer to your question.
Well, I think it's a good answer to something. But,
Go ahead. Right.
But there's also, it is kind of funny because Clark, my dad is an elementary school principal, and I think he has that like sit down and talk sort of personality, which was great in the ski group because there are these. It's funny because they're all older white people, right? Like, so initially you're like, it's not that diverse. And then you say I remember at one point I was like, oh, so you guys, I can't remember, they said, we're a very diverse group. And you're like, if you're from the Bay Area, you're like, you don't really look at, but then you start looking at their personalities and the way that they address life, and you realize, like, you actually are there's one guy, he's not featured in the film, but he's a big NRA supporter, and then there's a bunch of other people who are more on the progressive side of things, and they're skiing together, and they're having those conversations together, and I do think it was funny because there is one guy who's featured named Earl who's very into technique. His skiing technique's very important to him. He's a scooter rider, so he's ridden across the United States in his 70s on a Vespa.
That's crazy. That's the craziest thing.
Amazing, right? And his wife has Alzheimer's and so his
He doesn't
kind of,
have it. His wife does.
That's what it. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
His wife has Alzheimer's, and I think that I really loved talking to Earl because he's such a person who likes to examine and control, and like he was an engineer, and much of life was solving problems that were solvable.
Sure.
And having his wife go through dementia and eventually pass away of that, it's not solvable. And so I think the group, it was so funny because I would always ask him like, well, what do you get out of the group? And he'd be like, I am a better skier.
The best skier.
I am the best skier.
ever.
I get to show off. And then I would poke again, it'd be like, and finally I remember one day I was like, I have to ask him this really direct. I'm like, emotionally, what do you get out of the group? Because I can see it from the outside. You can see that he gets people to talk to and to listen to him. And like, he may not think that it's on top of his mind, but the unfolding of like what it means to be caring for his wife is really important to him, and he needs to talk that out.
Yeah.
But that group is just so essential that way. But to get him to see that was, was hilarious
What would
to me.
you both? So, what do you want as the number one top takeaway for this?
Oh, for the
people, and people seeing the film.
Well, I think for me, I want more and more people to see it, just because I do think it inspires you to take a look at your own life and take a look at the people around you and say, like, how am I spending time with folks? Am I having fun and creating an opening for the things that are challenging in my life to just sort of be processed?
Sure.
Yeah, with the more people. And also that we can help each other through the challenges
Sure
we have.
thing.
We didn't even talk about Phil,
Definitely.
but yeah. What
How about you, Clark?
Well, for me, the concept of helping each other through important or significant challenges is very, very, it's meaningful to me. Coming to mind is my friend Phil, who actually had cerebral palsy as a young kid,
Still
and then just last 3 or 4 weeks broke his hip. Okay, and this guy being up on the slopes and having the bravery of getting up and knowing that it's a long ways down there. No directional abilities, needing somebody to be there to say, that way, Phil. It was just exciting to be in a position to bring the mountain into his experience and at the same time enlarge the emotional connection between Phil and myself.
Yeah, it's really it's the gift and wonder, really, of being alive and having that human experience with all those connections. Well, it was so great to have you both with us, Erica and Clark. And the film is Snow Day, Life, Death, and Skiing. It's screening right now, actually, at the Elks Lodge. So that's awesome that you're here right now. Are you going to go back there and do a Q&A? Good. And thanks so much for being here and for really giving us some insight and just a part of the joy that your dad's experienced too. It's just great.
Thank you so much. It was great to talk with you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you to the festival. We love
this
festival.
We're coming
it's been
again.
amazing. Yeah, we'll be here.
Wild and Scenic. All right, I'm Elisa Parker. We'll be right back with Wild and Scenic Media Lounge.
Every day is about the best day on the mountain.
My name is Phil Matthews. I'm 70.
We ski no matter what. We've skied when it's been a blizzard up here before.
Twice I've tried doing the half pipe because some skiers do the half pipe.
Did you see anybody else your age trying the half pipe?
No, nobody my age is crazy enough.
I don't perceive myself as old, really. If I look in the mirror, but I just avoid that.
I get a lot out of this ski group. The emotional part is getting to know people better.
I have had some rather bad falls in the last 4 years. And as you're flying through the air, it's like, well, Maybe I'll live.
The ski group, oh, they've made my life a lot better.
When my husband passed away, I could just sit home, feel sorry for myself, or I could go out and become very active in the community, and that's what I've decided to do.
And we're lucky. I think that's one of the things that we have to say, that when we get to our age, we are survivors so far, and you don't know when that's going to end.
This group is about physical fitness, it's about having fun, it's about friendship, and it's about elements of danger.
What's the danger?
The danger is that you might fall on your poodle.